Hi, I'm Annie Botticelli, and welcome to my Storyteller Horoscope for you for March 2019. Go to my website, anniehelpsyou.com, if you'd like to book a live reading. Also, if you love the way I teach astrology and want to learn, there may be some slots in my astrology apprenticeship program. You can see more about and order my book, Radical Prayer, Transform Your Life and the World in 28 Days, which has now become an Amazon bestseller. So you can see more about that at anniehelpsyou.com or at radicalprayerbook.com. So I'm calling the theme of the month for Virgos for March 2019, an easier, softer way to live. This month is full of so many aspects that are directly relevant to Virgo placements. I have so many details in store for you, you have no idea. So my detail-oriented Virgos, which many of you tend to be, you're going to really like this video because we've got the new moon that is in Pisces. Pisces opposes your sign. This is very important. We've got planets in Pisces. All of them are opposing your sign. We've got Mercury retrograde in Pisces opposing your sign. We have a ton of Earth planet trines that are locking directly in with your placements that are affecting your sign. And all of this can give you a chance to embrace your shadow side and also have other strategies that can really facilitate living in your best, easiest life. So I'm going to use the visuals for the charts that I've been using in recent months to go into a massive amount of detail about how these things that I just highlighted can show up for you all specifically. So get ready, it's gonna be a wild ride. Let's look at the visuals now. Hello Virgo friends. Okay, so now I'm going to give you the visual of the little highlights that I just talked about so that you can see on the charts if you'd like to learn more and also get more details about the energy of the month for you. So the first thing we have to establish to go deeper is where in the 30 degrees of Virgo you are placed. Okay, so it's separated out into 3 segments. Early Virgos are born pretty much August. 0 to 9 degrees if you're watching for your rising or moon or you know your sun degree. The middle Virgos are around September 1st through the 10th or 10 to 19 degrees. And the late Virgos are September 11th through the rest of the sign or 20 to 29 degrees. Okay, so if you missed that, then just rewind it so that you can get clear on where you are. And then we'll look at the charts and see all of these goodies that I want to talk to you about. Okay, so the first thing to note is that the personal planets are moving through, well, at least 2 of the personal planets are moving through Pisces. And Pisces opposes Virgo energies. So that is very noteworthy. So we're going to spend some time looking at these individually. Okay, so the first thing to know, let's just use a middle degree chart here. Okay, so these general energies that I'm going to talk about are true for all early, middle, and late, and then I'll start to segment you all out. But for now, we'll use the middle chart, but just know that the information I'm sharing right now is for all of you. Okay, so when there are planets moving through Pisces, you can see there are a bunch here. These ones in particular, the Sun and Mercury, are the ones I'm talking about now because they're the personal planets, the ones closer to us, they move the quickest. All right, so they're kind of blowing through here. This is a short-term transit. They are in 180-degree angle to Virgo planets. It's called an opposition. Okay, so we've got long-term energies there, we have short-term energies there. It is what it looks like. It's an opposing force. It often pulls you in 2 different directions. You're being pulled this way, you're being pulled this way. Sometimes that's very uncomfortable. Sometimes it is exactly what is needed to be a catalyst for change. And sometimes it's the perfect introduction to the situation to be able to access what I call your superhero self. I always call the opposition the superhero aspect because when you can transcend these opposing forces, then you can really find this perfect, beautiful balance that we are seeking. So obviously Virgo energy is detail-oriented, analytical. It can think a lot. It can, have great focus and great perseverance. it can worry, it's very focused on details. Pisces energy, not that it doesn't have its own version of worrying, it does, but it's more of the energy of surrender, the energy of release, the energy of artistic pursuits, the abstract, the incoherent, the formless. So we're talking about form versus formless, order versus chaos. And the very obvious and outward, and then the shadow side. So when there's all this energy here, and there's a ton of energy here, because it's not just the Sun and Mercury moving through. Remember that Mercury is actually in retrograde, so it's spending an extended period of time here. And for all of you whose birthdays are between like around September 1st and 11th, specifically closer to the 5th and the 6th, even more intensely, you're going to be having the new moon opposing your placements. So if you have any Virgo placements between 10 and 21 degrees of Virgo, so that's 5 degrees or so in either direction of the actual new moon, which is between 15 and 16 degrees. With those of you with birthdays around the 5th or 6th, or 15 or 16 degrees being the most intense, but all of you are affected by a new moon that is also conjunct Neptune in your sign. But that division of you between the 1st and 11th is even more affected by that particular aspect than all of you from around September 5th through the rest of the sign. You're going to have Mercury go retrograde over your Virgo placements. So you can see like every Virgo is being affected by all of this Pisces stuff going on. So everything I'm talking about is relevant for all of you. But there might be some more additional stories for those of you in the designations that I listed because of these different ways that these Pisces planets are even more deeply affecting your Virgo placement. Okay, so embracing the shadow side, embracing uncertainty, a calling over to soften details. Basically, how I see this is a chance to have things be easier for you, because Virgos can make themselves crazy with details and sometimes make some things harder than they have to be because of getting wrapped up in that energy. So this energy offers a chance for things to be easier. Your life to be easier. But sometimes it has to be through balancing the extremes that this can happen. Okay, so focusing on sleep, focusing on rest, focusing on meditation, focusing on, that quiet space that is not logic, it's actually intuition. And not will, not intent to do something, but surrender and openness is an amazing way to use all of these energies to make life easier for you. Because if you're brainstorming and trying to figure something out logically, making yourself crazy, you could go take a hike or have some tea and put the problem over to spirit, and in an hour you can have a resolution to something that you couldn't sort out. So that's the kind of energy that is happening this month. So I want to also talk about a massive amount of trine action that's going on for you guys. And I have talked about some of this over previous months, but the story is evolving as these placements are moving, and I want to throw in an additional discussion about Mars, because we haven't talked about Mars, because Mars is only recently in a situation where it will be trining, making the most favorable aspect in all of astrology, your Virgo placements. Okay, so I always put these videos out early, so even though this is from March, many of you will be listening to this early, and if your birthday is like August born Virgos, or the first 9 days of the sign and 9 degrees, then in the second half of February, Mars is actually going to make that beautiful trine to your Virgo placement. So that's where action can come together beautifully and yield amazing results. Blessings can come to you for no reason. Blessings can come to you from work that you've done, just pure luck. It's a very lucky type of transit. For the rest of you, so basically the September-born Virgos, all of March, the whole month of March, you're going to have Mars come and make that trine. So somewhere between the middle of February and the end of March, Mars is going to make that beautiful kiss to your Virgo placement, bringing awesomeness. So if you have to do something important, I love that. You know, it depends on the nature of it, because do remember in March we have Mercury retrograde energies, but it doesn't mean that you still can't utilize that. It's just more with a wink to the past and not like full-on new launches with things you haven't done before. It's more like redoing something, bringing something back out, trying something a different way, experimenting, doing something that you've been doing and just kind of continuing it, having a contact from the past or something where what you're doing is inspired by the past, or it's just something you're trying on that kind of has no high stakes involved. That's one of the things I like to talk about with Mercury retrograde is like, if there's something that is not high stakes and it doesn't really matter what the outcome is, you can just try and do whatever you want, you know? It's those longer term, you know, got to get it to work in one shot, first time launches. Those are the things we want to push off more into April. But there's just so much sweet energy here with this Mars trine. And you early guys are getting it first. And then the rest of you will have that in March. Okay, so then the next designation is the Saturn trine arena. Okay, so Saturn moving in this earth sign of Capricorn. So it's moving between 17 and 19 degrees in March, but we'll say those of you between 16 and 20 degrees will especially have this trine. So basically, you know, birthdays around September 7th through the 11th. This is most activated for you in March. And Saturn trine, lots of great energy for long-term gains and productivity, people helping you to get to where you want to be. Those of you whose birthday is September 13th or near there, this whole month, and also as a theme for the whole year, you've got Pluto trining your placement. So this is like a couple of year process that this goes on. It's been going on. It's going to go on all through this year, but it's completely active and right on for those of you around September 13th all month. And if you're close to September 13th, then you either are experiencing this like the few days before that. You're also going through that this year. It started last year in 2018. And if you're in the days after that, this is coming for you. And all the days far after that, you still have this to look forward to. And for those of you who've already had that, hopefully it brought awesome things. Trines are the things that we most seek in astrology to look for awesomeness and ease, you know. As I talked about before, those oppositions can bring awesomeness, but they require work and balancing it out. But the trines, those are usually much easier and sweeter. So pretty much every Virgo placement every Virgo placement due to Mars or Saturn or Pluto are going to have at least one trine benefit, and some of you will have multiple over there. So those are the things that are most on my mind specifically for Virgos with the visuals. Now I want to give you my top transits of the month that are general transits that you definitely need to know about. And I'll give you information to equip you to utilize this knowledge in great ways. So I'm going to give you that information now. So the general transits of March 2019 carry the energy of sudden changes amidst a quiet rest. March continues the trend that started in February of 2019 with more sweet aspects than challenging ones, which is very exciting. So this dreamy and creative Pisces energy is going to dominate the month of March. Then around the 20th, as the sun moves into Aries, the climate will change, the energy will change, but most of the month is covered in this quiet creativity after this push of the window that we had that opened at the end of December and went into the end of February, beginning of March. So it's a great time to experiment and work in the backdrop. Things from the past are very likely to come back. blessings from the past, things you've done from the past, projects from the past, people from the past. There's a strong tilt with the retrograde energies. So Mercury will officially be in retrograde from March 5th through the 28th. Depending on your time zone, those dates could toggle a little bit. But the whole month, and even starting February 19th and going to April 17th, there's the retrograde transit, because there's a pre-transit shadow period and a post-transit shadow period when the energies are starting to shift. So it's a long transit. Making commitments to short-term arrangements could be perfectly fine, but just know that in general, the energy shows a shorter term agreement or a shorter term energy. So things that you do in this time, if you're intending them to be long term, they often wind up being shorter term than expected, or if they do make it into the long term, they get seriously called into question or have to change dramatically in order to be able to persevere. But for short term things, interim plans, things like that, it can be perfectly fine. It's great for trying on things, continuing with things you've already been doing, editing, anything like that. Also watch paperwork and other agreement details carefully, because Mercury ruling communication can interfere with the clarity of information that you get at this time, and things agreed to will likely be shifted, or you might not know all the information. Also, things involving transportation are more likely to come up. So problems with your car, trips, changes to plans, those are all common. But in general, the month has definitely more sweet aspects than challenging ones, and it's a very nice rest in between these push points. Okay, so once we start to get into April, it's going to be time to push again, and you'll start to feel that energy starting at the end of March, but it's going to brew and get stronger and more clear as we get into April. One of the twists, or the big twist this month, is amidst this smooth and introspective flow, Uranus is moving back into Taurus to stay until, years from now. So generally the transit is around 7 years. It popped in last year to Taurus and then it went out. And as you may recall, the energy as it popped in is or was instigating earthquakes and volcanic eruptions and wild weather that has still continued. Also, there have been a lot of things going on in the news that relate to the breakup of old systems and the solidity of intact systems that are getting disrupted. And Uranus moving through Taurus, this is very typical of that energy. So these kind of changes and disruptions and volatility probably will shift. So our relationship to the changes is what we get to have control over. So these changes to old systems can be a very welcome thing if things are stodgy and not working. But in the places where there's some security, sometimes that can be upset in these times. And this goes all the way down, starting at the global level, all the way down to the individual experience. So Uranus bringing changes there amidst this quiet time and beyond. In general, the the recommendation for this time is to keep your commitments as light as possible and as flexible as possible. You can certainly do things, but just know that things that are planned could get called into question. There could be shifts. They could still work out, but there's definitely a lot more of a kind of a last minute flowing, flexible energy that works well with this time. So I'm going to give you the days that there are sweet aspects. Do know that even if I give you a date that's supposed to have a sweet aspect, you can feel that aspect days before or days after. And some days have more than one aspect, with one of them being sweet and one of them being challenging. So you really just need to tune into your intuition with this awareness. The dates I'm going to give you, you can also find written as well as explanations of all the aspects and what you can expect with them when you go to AnnieHelpsYou.com and sign up for my free email newsletter. Then I send out a written version of this general report a month beforehand so that you have it to look at and make your plans and you can understand the energies at play. But in general, try not to stick too heavily to a certain date as being a certain way, because the carryover of the aspects can definitely, stretch over a period of time. So you just kind of have to feel your way through. Okay, so the dates with the sweet vibes: March 2nd, 6th, 8th, 9th, 13th, 14th, 17th, 20th, 27th, and 28th. And the ones to look out for a likelihood of stress and challenges and drama, or overstimulation or general awkwardness, March 1st, 5th, 6th, 14th, 15th, 22nd, and 28th. So you can see there are less of those aspects that are more challenging. So I'm just going to hit a couple of other highlights here, some of the dates that are most calling out to me to discuss. The rest of them, like I said, you can sign up for the newsletter and you can see all of my aspects that I put on here for you in the newsletter. Okay, so on March 1st, it kind of starts out with a bang with an aspect with Venus and Uranus. So often that can bring jolts to love or money or your certainty or self-esteem. So just kind of look out for that. But there is another sweet aspect, or a sweet aspect the day after, that could kind of help to bring a happy outcome from that, or could soften the energy. The days around March 5th, Mercury actually goes retrograde, and there's more awkwardness around the days before and after it changes station. So, you know, 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th, more awkwardness, more changes, you know, just try to keep your scheduling light. One of the big days of the month is March 6th, the new moon at almost 16 degrees of Pisces, and this is also going to be conjunct Neptune, the Sun conjunct Neptune. So you can check out my blog if you go to Annie Helps You, or if you just search for Making Powerful New Moon Wishes in Pisces, you can find my blog that helps to guide you using that energy in the best way for creating the life of your dreams. But in general, this is an extremely dreamy and introspective month, and this moon is especially so because of that, because of the sign it's in and because of the Neptune aspect. But it's an artist's delight, and I really love this time for rest and retreat and rejuvenation, and being surrounded by inspiration, going to an inspiring place. Definitely watch your security all month, but this particular transit, things going on behind, you know, your conscious knowing with internet or home or other security, just be on guard there. Okay, March 6th is the date that Uranus moves back into Taurus. Sometimes we see things happen to the date or very close to the date that are notable, although things have already been happening already since Uranus has been marching back towards Taurus. Things have been really getting stirred up over the last couple of months. All right, some sweet aspects and challenging aspects that I listed the dates already, but the other big date I want to talk about is that full moon at 0 degrees of Libra on March 20th. I talked about this in some of the individual reports as well, but this is the 3rd supermoon in a row. And it's the 3rd one at 0 degrees, which is the 1st degree of the sign. So this is denoting major new beginnings, major clean slates, major breakup of old ways. Some of those ways we don't want to leave, you know, and so we could be resisting, but some of it could be welcome change that we've been working for a long time, and just sort of karma clearing up and lots of magic. I really love this full moon, even though it will be intense for better and worse. Full moons are always intense, but this is also a supermoon, and it's also at the, you know, that 1st degree. So think about the intensity that we had at the eclipse time around January 21st, and then the full moon in February. Those supermoons tend to bring more emotion and more power to the experience. This is also the spring equinox. This is also the first day of the astrological new year, which is a very exciting time to do a vision board. Also, the new moon in Aries, which will happen in April, is one of the other best times to do a vision board, planting seeds for what you would like to create in your life. But this March 20th time is very, very powerful, very, very powerful. There's also 3 awesome aspects that are occurring simultaneously. Mars in Taurus is trining Pluto, and Mercury in Pisces is making a sweet aspect to Saturn, or maybe that was it. So there's 2 aspects. And those are just adding to the beautiful, powerful nature of this time. So then on March 28th, we have, or the 27th, depending on your time zone, Mercury is going direct. So again, the awkwardness around those dates, to just be extra careful driving, walking, with your communications, your devices, don't drop them in the toilet. This is more likely to happen during these Mercury retrograde cycles, where your cars or other vehicles or communication devices need some attention or extra care. Don't text while you're driving. Don't text while you're walking, if you can help it. Oh, one other thing, we started out the month with that challenging aspect with Venus on March 1st, and now we end the month with a sweet aspect with Venus So sweet surprises in money and love can come with this one. So it's a nice counterbalance to that jolt at the beginning of the month. So if you love how I do astrology and you'd love a live reading, you can go to anniehelpsyou.com, click on Work With Me, and see my astrology coaching section. If you would love to learn astrology because you resonate with how I teach, there may be some slots left in my astrology apprenticeship program. I would love to have you aboard. If you think I go into details in the reports, then you should see the details I go into the astrology apprenticeship program. Definitely check out my new book, Radical Prayer, Transform Your Life and the World in 28 Days. It has already become an Amazon bestseller, so it's very exciting. So you can either go to radicalprayerbook.com, or you can search for my name and Radical Prayer in Amazon. Also, that should start to be available internationally at different booksellers. You should be able to get that at kind of brick and mortar bookstores as well. So go to anniehelpsyou.com, go to cozybysweetstarlight.com for written horoscopes from me. I also do a write-up talking about different things than I do in the videos that supplement, and if the videos are a little bit intense, the cozybysweetstarlight.com horoscopes are the antidote to that. They're super light, super easy to follow, and give you some different aspects to understand. Okay, so you can go to my husband's website, iamhelios.com, iamhelios.com. He does tarot readings, he also does some astrology readings, and he does visual work with audio-visual work, so you can check out his offerings there. So I hope you have a wonderful month, and I'll see you next month. Bye.